Federal judges are the first responders. They protect our rule of law. They just chop wood and keep stacking it until they're told to stop by the appellate courts. Even then, there may be an aspect of their order that is still enforceable and valid. In the interim, they have jurisdiction over the entire case. That's why Judge Immergut just issued her third order, a new order extending the time to stop the deployment of the National Guard by Donald Trump, any National Guard from any state, in Portland, Oregon, and Oregon. That will run coextensive with an order from the Ninth Circuit concerning an aspect of her order. I tie it all together. We put it all together the only way we know how on the Legal AF podcast. And here's a clip. Let's start off with Judge Immergut, Trump appointee, first time around, former prosecutor like you, state and federal, and has been issuing very stern orders. 2 from 2 weeks ago. Back to back, that said that Donald Trump could not nationalize the Oregon Guard because the factors that need to be present in order to commandeer a state militia under a statute we call 12406 were not present. We weren't under attack from a foreign country. There wasn't a rebellion, and there wasn't a domestic disturbance or domestic violence that made it impossible for him to execute on law. Oregon had some issues in June. There was some arson. There were some cars set on fire. I mean, frankly, if you've seen video of some cities after they win the Super Bowl or the World Series, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. I'll just leave it at that. So and then months later, after the really got reduced about 20 people in chicken suits and frog suits protesting in front of ICE, that's when he sends the troops in. So she issued her order that said, no, you can't nationalize the Oregon Guard. Then Donald Trump said, fine, I'll send California National Guard in. And she pulled together an emergency hearing 2 Sundays ago and said, no, you're not doing that either. So she stayed the what's called the mobilization or the commandeering of the Guard. And at the same time, she stopped the deployment. Stay in your barracks. Ninth Circuit took a look at that, had an oral argument about a week ago, and said, well, for now, stay in your barracks. We'll come back to you about whether Donald Trump could nationalize the Guard. So there was a hearing today with Judge Immergut where she had to make a decision about that part of her injunction that was still standing after the Ninth Circuit. So what happened from there, Karen?
Didn't she extend it for 2 weeks, the time period for which that they have to not be mobilized? Like, isn't this just a kicking the can down the road for another 2 weeks?
It could even be less. It is. I mean, the headline is federal judge blocks mobilization or deployment of federal troops again in Oregon. But she also said on the phone during the hearing, she said today, I know the Ninth Circuit's about to rule. And if they rule against me, I'll lift the stay. But she's trying to line up her order with the administrative stay order of the Ninth Circuit. It's all important because it's not only what's going on in Oregon, right? It bleeds over into Illinois because you got Judge May that issued her order, very similar to Judge Immergut's order, blocking the Illinois deployment of National Guard and mobilization. And the circuit court there, the appellate court there, did the exact same thing as the Ninth, right?
Yeah, I also read that I think Oregon National Guard is being sent to Texas to go guard the border there. I mean, Trump is just dying to utilize the military or military-like forces on our citizens. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah. And, it's going to rapidly get eventually to the United States Supreme Court. I expect that Ninth Circuit decision to come out in the next week or two. Certainly, I don't think it'll go much beyond that. And based on my review of the oral argument that we had up on Legal AF YouTube, it's not looking good for Oregon and Judge Immergut's decision. I think they're going to give the president, kind of like the Ninth Circuit did, a pretty broad berth here to exercise whatever he sees fit in terms of a rebellion, or, if the president says he can't execute the laws, we'll just have to defer to him, sort of this deference to facts thing, which drives me up the wall. But it is consistent. Now, the Ninth Circuit case is still going on with Gavin Newsom versus Donald Trump. And I'm going to have the honor and the pleasure of interviewing live in person Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, on this Saturday. We already have it up on Legal AF YouTube. He's going to be up on the stage with me at an event in San Diego, and we're going to be talking about how what just happened in Oregon and Illinois help him ultimately in the California argument. Because one of the arguments Trump made is, I've got to mobilize these forces. I gotta deploy them in California because the state's on fire. It's a shithole. I mean, this is my paraphrase. It's a war-ravaged area. And yet he took 200 of them and sent them to Oregon. So how bad could it have been in California? So they're that's a gift, right? And I hope
the Oregonians can continue to show how absurd and unnecessary this is with their costumes that they're wearing, their chicken suits, their unicorn suits, their frog suits, their emergency naked bike rides that they're calling. I mean, it just shows the absurdity and the unnecessary nature of this deployment, and I think it really highlights how absurd and ridiculous this is.
You picked the wrong hippie progressive town to go after.
Exactly.
I mean, just watch Portlandia. It's almost a documentary from the people that I know that live there. And I felt sorry for the frog guy because they shot a pepper ball up his butt inside his suit. I mean, there's video of that. Maybe our producer can find it while I'm talking about it. But all kidding aside, it's going to end up at the United States Supreme Court. We're going to get another terrible ruling that's going to be on the books for generations about what the next president, not named Donald Trump, can do, related to these things. So the National Guard cases stand for a certain proposition. Now, let me just rip the mask off here because I've seen the numbers. Donald Trump has blown hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to do these cosplay stunts and show of force. $200 million alone in DC. And multiply that by Illinois and California. You're talking about $750 million. Thank you very much. I mean, not thank you very much like I wanted that to happen, but thank you that you showed that poor frog guy who got a pepper sprayed.
He shot them from behind. He wasn't a threat. He did it from behind.
By the way, once again, you show why you were such an amazing prosecutor. The guy in the frog suit was shot from behind.
True. I mean, he was not threatening these ICE agents.
I mean, he was threatening. Couldn't even see them.
It was an unnecessary use of force, as all of this is.
Well, we could spend an entire Legal AF with salty running clips of people being tackled from behind, running away and being shot. This is a cowardly, out of control ICE and National Guard force. I don't completely blame them, but when you give these yahoos $50,000 and a badge and a gun, and you send them out in the streets, you tell them have at it. It becomes the purge.
I mean, didn't Trump say use our citizens as practice for the military training?
To which the military generals and admirals in the room were like, I mean, there was such stone cold no response to that. But this is going to end up at the United States Supreme Court, so we're going to have to continue to follow it. So, if you're not okay with $500 million of your money being spent to primarily pick up litter and stand guard in front of a building, then let the Republicans know at the midterms. Welcome back. This is like a TED Talk meets a law school class. You're going to learn about procedure. You're going to learn about jurisdiction. You're going to learn about venue. You're going to learn about all the different levels of injunctions, from administrative stay to temporary restraining order to preliminary injunction to permanent injunction and everything in between. Wanted to know what a summary judgment was? You're going to find out. Wanted to learn what the limits of appellate jurisdiction is on an appeal court? You're going to find out. Want to find out how much deference the Supreme Court gives a lower appellate court? You're going to find out on Legal AF, the podcast. I'm glad you're here, either on Midas Touch or on Legal AF YouTube channel. Subscribe to both. Come on over to Legal AF Substack, where we post the orders like Judge Immergut's order for you to review. How do you help the show? It's easy. You're here Wednesdays and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then, of course, the video feed is up there for your review, is Legal AF, the podcast. I founded it 5 years ago with Ben Meiselas, Wednesdays with Karen Freeman, Ignifilo, and me, Saturdays with Ben and me. And then we do hot takes, I don't know, about 40 times a week at the intersection of law and politics. Then come over to Legal AF That's audio. Pick us up on audio like Apple and Spotify. This is why we're in the top 50 to 100 every week in podcasting. Same on YouTube. But we have to grow this audience organically. We don't have an outside PR firm. We're just completely word of mouth and the fervent support of our audience. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.